In the heart of Grimstone, surrounded by towering skyscrapers, lay an unassuming building, a forgotten morgue that was a relic of the city's dark history. This place was a mystery, locked away behind rusted gates and overgrown ivy. Its cracked stone walls seemed to whisper of untold horrors. The city folk avoided it, claiming to hear faint screams on quiet nights. But a group of teenagers, eager for a thrill, decided to uncover its secrets. It was a moonless, windy night when they arrived at the morgue. As they pushed open the heavy iron gate, a bone-chilling gust of wind swept through, carrying with it an eerie silence. The building loomed over them, its shattered windows resembling hollow eyes. With a mix of excitement and trepidation, they stepped inside. The air was thick with the smell of mold and something far more sinister, a putrid scent of decayed flesh that clung to their senses. The main hallway was dark, their flashlights barely piercing the oppressive blackness. Every footstep echoed loudly, as if the building itself was amplifying their presence. Suddenly, a loud, piercing scream broke the silence, followed by a chorus of desperate wails. The sound reverberated through the halls, chilling them to the bone. They looked around, hearts pounding, but saw nothing. The air grew colder, and they could see their breath fogging in the dim light. They reached the main room, dominated by an old, rusted metal door with a small window. As they peered inside, they saw a figure, a tall, gaunt man in a blood-stained mortician's coat, standing over a gurney. He seemed to be talking to himself, his voice a low, unsettling murmur. Then, without warning, he turned his head, revealing hollow, glowing eyes. He grinned, a grotesque smile that stretched unnaturally across his face, and let out a blood-curdling scream that echoed through the room. Panicking, the teens stumbled backward, only to find the door they entered had vanished. The room around them began to twist and warp, the walls stretching and contracting as if the building was alive. The air filled with a cacophony of screams, some shrill, others guttural, creating a symphony of terror. The mortician's voice rose above the din, chanting in an ancient, forgotten language that made their skin crawl. Desperate to escape, they fled deeper into the morgue. The corridors twisted and turned, leading them into a maze of dark, oppressive rooms. They found rows of open drawers, containing bodies in various stages of decomposition. As they approached, the bodies began to move, their eyes opening and their mouths freezing in silent screams. The air was filled with the sounds of flesh tearing and bones crunching as the dead rose. In a final act of desperation, the teens pushed open a door and found themselves in a cold, sterile room. In the center stood a massive, ancient-looking mirror. They hesitated, drawn to it despite the fear clawing at their insides. As they approached, the mirror's surface began to ripple, and a face appeared. The face of a young woman, pale and terrified. She screamed, a high-pitched, soul-piercing wail that filled the room. Suddenly, the mirror shattered, and the woman was pulled back into the void, leaving only a cold, echoing silence. The room began to collapse around them, the walls closing in as if trying to swallow them whole. The air filled with the sound of desperate, anguished cries, mingled with the cold laughter of the mortician, now standing at the doorway. His eyes glowed with an unholy light, and he raised a hand, beckoning them to join the dead. The floor gave way, and the teens were plunged into darkness, their screams cut off abruptly. The next morning, the city awoke to the news of the missing teenagers.